Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me? Okay, so I believe at this point we have a quorum. So I hereby call the March 21st, 2023 meeting of the JAG-K Board of Directors to order. For those of you participating virtually, I do ask that you state your name and identify yourself as presenting a motion or making a second or having a discussion about anything. Also, I would notify the board that we are live streaming and it is also being recorded. So if you got the message pop up on your Zoom, know that it's being recorded. Chuck, I'm first going to have you introduce our fabulous speaker. If you can figure out the microphone.
I'm trying. Okay.
Chuck is, by the way, doing all things John as well today because she is on her way to the in-person event, and so Chuck has graciously taken over all of you.
Hopefully. Okay, I don't know if this is on. You hear this? All right. So I will adjust the camera later. This is one of those issues. But I think, Tamaja, you're probably about shorter than I am. So perfect. Anyway, I am really excited to introduce our student speaker this month. She is a student at Shawnee Heights High School, and she's also accompanied by her career specialist, Cami Mead, who is an excellent specialist, which we could spend a whole other meeting talking about how great Cami is. But Tamaja is our parliamentarian for our state career association. She was elected by her peers last spring. She's had a number of wonderful opportunities as a result of being elected to this position, including going to Washington, D.C. So she is part of the group that may have been the best student group we've ever taken to D.C. We've had a lot of great groups, but these four happen to be young ladies this year were just outstanding, represented JAG-K and Kansas very well. And so I'm excited to introduce our State Career Association parliamentarian, Tamaja Nichols.
Hello, my name is Tamaja Nichols. I'm a JAG-K senior at Shawnee Heights High School, and I'm here to tell you about how JAG-K has helped impact me and prepare me for my future. This is my third year in JAG, and the program has given me many opportunities to grow. Since I've been in the program, I had the opportunity to become the class civic awareness leader, and this year I am now the JAG-K Region 2 president, my class president, and the state treasurer. With the help from my career specialist, Cami Mead, her guidance has helped me feel more confident about my college choice and my career choice. Even if I did decide to go to college, my specialists have prepared me how to make my own life choices when I am struggling, what health care will be for me. And since I did go to college, I have my scholarship to go for track, and that has helped a lot. And although FAFSA didn't help it much, there's other scholarship opportunities to help me prepare with. Since I got the chance to travel to Washington, D.C., I got the chance to talk to the state reps and senates why it's important to have more JAG programs throughout the state of Kansas, and how it has impacted myself and the other students in the program as well. JAG has helped me feel confident with my public speaking and myself. I have always been a self-centered student, but now I'm more about the other students as well. I have also been taught when it comes to a job how to fill out an application, dress nice, create a resume and a cover letter. And if you are contacted back, how to dress appropriately and be truthful and stand behind what you put in your cover letter and your resume. Without this program wanting the best out of me, the specialist pushing me, I would be a law student who would have no idea what they want for their future. Recently, I had an experience of job shadowing the JAG-K Day at the state capitol through the minority leader, Senator Diana Skites. from the opportunity that Chuck Knapp and Bev has given me to be on the state board. Diana Skies was helpful enough to bring up opportunities that her dear friend and specialist is offering for students like me. She enjoyed speaking with me because I was so confident speaking to her. She was happy to hear that I would be interested in something that I have experienced due to the fact that I pulled my hamstrings in middle school, and it was really hard for me to do things, so I did go to physical therapy. Since then, since that experience, I have loved the job. I love how they impact their patients, how they get to know you guys one-on-one. That's the one thing I love. Although I'm not close to the job experience, she made it known that since I have that opportunity, I would just snag it up now and I'll wait, get every chance that I have. I feel like more people should be in JAG because the program has helped me in many ways, such as finding out what I want to do in the future, acknowledging the skills that I have, and putting myself out there. JAG has helped me realize I want to pursue a career in physical therapy throughout my own experience that I had in middle school, like I said before. I felt some type of connection with the job, and since then, I am going to Washington University to pursue a career in kinesiology. And from then on, I'm going to KU to get my physical therapy PhD. I would like to thank you all for allowing me to speak today. And I would like to thank Chuck for giving me the opportunity to come here today as well. Thank you. Are there any questions from you guys? Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Tamaja, very much for coming here today. So all the directors have had a chance, I hope, to take a minute to review the minutes from the December 2022 Board of Directors annual meeting. Does anybody have any changes, corrections that they want to bring up at this time? Hearing none, the chair will entertain now a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second? Thank you. Are there any other discussion? If not, all in favor of approving the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes pass as written. I don't have a report at this time, so the next order of business is receiving Chuck as our his president's report. We now recognize Chuck. You can find his written report under tab 2 in your information packet.
Okay, thank you. Okay, how about this one? Well, I am just not good with life.
And we tested all of this equipment prior to the meeting. Anyway, my written report is in the binder. It's also on the website, the director page, if you want to go back through it later. And certainly I'm glad to expand on anything in the report. I did want to highlight a few items from the report. Funding is always obviously an important issue. Our TANF grant expired this year, but DCF has extended it for 1 year with the intent of starting a new 3-year agreement in fiscal year 25. They're trying to align all of the grant periods at DCF, and so that's why we're getting a 1-year extension, so we'll be on grants starting in 25. The appropriation we have up to $3.5 million. That is in the legislative process currently. Don't anticipate any issues. There haven't been thus far. We are trying to get a small change in the language. If that doesn't happen, we believe it's going to happen on the House side. Certainly, we talked to Senator Billinger, who's a strong supporter, obviously, of JAG-K. Worst case scenario, the language doesn't change and we're still okay. We're basically trying to change may to shall. But the governor is supportive of JAG-K. If the Department of Corrections, for some reason, hesitated this year on the appropriation, we're confident that the governor's office would intervene. I don't think that's necessary at all. We're still trying to get pre-ETS funding this year. We didn't budget for it. This is really a pilot program. We're very close. We have provider agreement signed. We've had that since August. Trying to work out the details on the documentation for the billable services. My hope continues to be that we will be able to bill for some services this year in anticipation of billing for more services next year. From a legislative standpoint, we continue to have strong bipartisan support. Tamaja mentioned that Senator Sykes opened up an opportunity for her. We have that kind of support on both sides of the aisle. We're really appreciative of that, and in addition to the governor's support. We've talked to both members of the executive and legislative branches about JAG-K, and both of them have indicated that they would like to see JAG-K expand to help students who are at risk of not attaining educational and career success. We're not sure what that looks like. Part of that has come as a result of the conversation in the legislature and the legislation related to school choice. And so we've been approached by both parties about how we might be part of the solution. The devil's always in the details, but we'll continue to have those conversations and see where we fit in that puzzle. But the good news is they're thinking of JAG-K as part of the solution. Programming, we continue to do great things. We had more than 400 students and staff at JAG-K Day at the Capitol, February 8th. Our students were again recognized on the floor of the House and Senate. We had meetings with all of the Senate leadership on the majority and minority side. Well, most of them. The President of the Senate, the Majority Leader, and the Minority Leader on the Senate side. The governor was not in the Capitol that day, so she set aside a different day in February where she brought in our Career Association officers. She signed a proclamation, spoke with them, visited with each of them individually, and talked about how great JAG-K is. And she also did that earlier in the month at the National Governors Association meeting. She talked about how wonderful JAG is and part of her attempts to make education better in Kansas. So we certainly appreciate the shout out there. We also had 3 days where seniors, JAG-K seniors, can come to the Capitol if they've never visited before, spend the morning at the Capitol, and then in the afternoon actually go on a campus visit to Washburn University or industry visits. We have several local partners that allow our students to come in and tour and learn about those career opportunities within those businesses. So we had a great time. About 170 students participated in that. And those are just things we continue to do, try to come up with new opportunities for our students every year. Regional CDCs occurred, the career development conferences. We had over 450 students participate in those 4 events. We elected our regional officers, and now tomorrow at McPherson College, we will have 251 high school and middle school students participating in our state career development conference. As a result of them qualifying at the regional conferences, we'll also elect our state career association officers. So we will have a new state parliamentarian. Elijah will be replaced next year. And we'll also announce the winners of our scholarships. We have 3 scholarships we award. This board established the Bud Estes Memorial Scholarship that will be awarded tomorrow. The insurance commissioner has, this will be the 2nd year, they have established a scholarship for financial literacy. So we will have 3 winners. The JAG-K winner will receive $5,000. Second place will be $3,000. Third place will be $2,000. And then our winner will compete against the winners of other organizations, have the opportunity for another $5,000. And well, I know who won. I can't say anything because of the live stream. But anyway, this has been a great partnership with the Insurance Commissioner's Office, the Securities Commissioner's Office. And the best part about this, aside from the money for our students, is that our students really have shown in the area of financial literacy, which is an important part of the JAG model. Last year, our JAG-K student won the overall state scholarship, so we were very proud of her. Transition services continues to be an area where we would like to expand, not only with our students in foster care, but the justice-involved youth, and this is an area where Governor Kelly would like us to expand, and our engagement at the Kansas Juvenile Correctional Complex, I think she would like to see as a model for the rest of the nation. So we continue to have those conversations and improve our model and work within the restrictions of the facility to make it the best possible for those students. And that concludes my report. If you don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. I'm gonna pass the mic today. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the agenda item of standing committee reports. The first committee that we'll be reporting out is the governance committee, and we actually do have 2 action items today. The first item, Lieutenant Colonel Trent Miller has resigned from his position, but he highly recommended Lieutenant Colonel Brian Gregory, who is here with us today. We're excited to have you to take his place. We received his application, and you will find that behind tab 3. If you've had a chance to take a look at this, I will entertain a motion now to appoint Lieutenant Colonel Brian Gregory to the unexpired term that ends September 2024. Do I hear a motion to approve Lieutenant Gregory's admission to the board of the directors? Okay, Derek moved. Do I have a second? Mike and Jim both seconded. Thank you. Any further discussion? Questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Online. Any opposed? Excellent. Welcome, Lieutenant Gregory. We are excited to have you. Would you like to introduce yourself and maybe say a couple things?
Sure. Absolutely. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Yeah.
Online can't.
Oh, online can. Okay, sure. No problem. Let me. Perfect. Okay, can everyone hear me now? So first and foremost, thank you very much. I worked with Colonel Miller before when he was a battalion commander of the recruiting battalion in Kansas Army National Guard. I was his operations officer at the time, and so not only do I look forward to following in his footsteps because I consider him to be one of my mentors, but also I look forward to continuing the work that we're doing in the Kansas Guard to help build citizen shoulders. I am also grateful for this opportunity because JAG-K is an organization I work with again in my past time in recruiting, and so I very much believe in the mission statement, and I think that there's synergies between what we're doing in the Kansas Guard and JAG-K as well. So thank you very much. Been in Topeka now for about 2 years, but been in the Kansas Guard for over 18 years. So look forward to continuing to support the state and helping the youth of the state actually get from point A to point B.
Thank you, Colonel. Welcome. We are excited to have you. Also, behind tab 3, you will see a document with the proposed amendment to the JAG-K bylaws. I'm going to ask Chuck now to kind of explain that to the board as we have a discussion actually about that as well.
This is a simple amendment. Currently, our bylaws state the governance committee is comprised of officers and chairs of standing committees, and then it includes the name of those standing committees. We have changed the name of the marketing committee to strategic advancement. So the proposal is to strike specific committee names and just say chairs of the standing committees. Are there any questions?
So a bit of cleanup, as you see behind the application for Colonel Gregory, it's just excluding that last bit of the Article 12 Governance Committee section. If I can have someone have a motion, I would entertain a motion to approve as amended. Anyone? Mike moved, Jamie seconded. Any further discussion, questions, just a little bit of cleanup? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. That has been amended for the motion, that's been approved. I now turn it over to, Mr. Cobb to give a report on the Strategic Advancement Committee.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I'm running a little late. Today was quite busy. I think we had 2 or 3 meetings last time the board met. Just on. Thank you. My hearing is so bad because of the cold. I have no idea what this is on.
You're good.
We've had several meetings, 2 or 3 meetings since our last board meeting. Been very active. The email, the discussion by Mark and his team have been very active. I think Mark is here, right? Are you giving that report?
I am now.
Okay.
Just delayed.
You have more details, but there has been a lot of activity.
Yes. So I get to do that. Okay, well, you will see behind tab 4 all of the activity. You'll see several grants. One of the big things we've got going on tomorrow is the Career Development Fair at our State Career Development Conference. We have 20 vendors that will be representing various careers, and our students will have an opportunity to visit with all of them. And we also, I think, pay around $700 in that range. So a little bit of extra money for JAG-K. We continue to work on our social media strategy. You'll see some statistics. I won't go through all of the activities. One of the big grants we currently have out right now is with United Way of Caw Valley. That was a $50,000 grant. Hopefully in the next month or so, we'll find out if we're successful in that. I think right now the big news for strategic advancement is the adoption of a 7-figure fundraising system. Mark and Kim and myself have all been trained on it. It has specific roles within this system, and one of the things we've done, and one of the other reasons Dawn is not here today, is Dawn is still executive assistant, but she's basically been deployed to strategic advancement as a cultivator to help identify potential supporters of JAG-K, not only from an employer engagement standpoint, but as an investor in our mission. And so we are going to be much more aggressive in the new year in private sector and foundation giving. And so we're excited about that. And again, you can go through. We were excited. I think Mark mentioned this the last meeting to get a donation from the Tennessee Royal Charities. They purchased uniforms for our 8 regional officers. I think it was 8, was it 4?
9 officers.
9 officers, okay. And they look great in the Capitol. JAG-K did at the Capitol. We couldn't have done that without Royal's Charities. And maybe the best part of that is now they're aware of JAG-K, and so we're hoping to build on that relationship. There is a color-coded chart toward the end of the report that will give you the grant status on all of those grants we have in process or that we've heard back from. Probably not as detailed as Mark would have done, but I'm glad to stand for questions if you have some about strategic advancement.
So I actually have a quick question. Chuck, where did we land on whether or not we're going to resurrect the gala this year?
We thought the sense of the committee was great event, but maybe it's not an annual event. Perhaps we do anniversary events. Now that thinking may change, but we weren't planning to do another one next year unless the board thinks we should. and we just needed to figure out the time. But we kind of felt like we needed more than the time allotted to have a successful event next year. But that's what we thought the board wanted us to do. If we misread that, let us know.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to close the loop on that and make sure the board was comfortable with that direction. Any other questions for Chuck and Alan on the strategic advancement efforts?
Or checks. If anybody has a check, we'll take it.
I don't know if you mentioned this, I may have not heard it. The Strategic Advancement Committee did approve the budget yesterday as it relates to strategic. You guys said that already.
Yes, we approved it. I don't have those details. There was a budget amendment. So I should have brought it.
That's okay, that's okay. And there are minutes, but basically the Strategic Advancement Committee looked at those expenses and the revenue side for the fiscal year 24 budget and approved what was proposed, and that budget will again be presented during the Finance Committee report.
Excellent. Any other questions for Alan or Chuck? If not, I am going to turn it over to Paula Lindahl-Smith for the Personnel Committee report.
All right, our Personnel Committee met yesterday. We had some good discussion. So we received information about the wage analysis that was performed to help establish salary increases and base salary adjustments. We also heard from Chuck and Ruth about some other budget challenges related to increased healthcare costs. There was discussion about the committee's desire for increases to be based upon performance. Chuck mentioned that managers know we cannot keep staff that are unable to meet expectations, and that between 7 to 10 employees are currently on performance improvement plans. If those employees do not meet the goals of the PIP, it is expected that they will be asked to return. They will not be asked to return for the next school year. And then the committee, we emphasized that managers need to be held accountable for their employees' performance. This includes helping their direct reports to meet expectations, as well as releasing employees that are not meeting the expectations. The committee approved the fiscal year 2024 budget proposal for compensation and benefits. We asked for a report before the June board meeting on how salary increases and employment statuses will be handled for employees who do not meet their annual performance reviews. The Performance Committee will schedule a meeting in the near future to discuss the evaluation process for the president and CEO. A copy of the wage analysis and other details related to the retention plan are included in the binders. Ruth or Chuck will be glad to answer any questions you have about the material. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Paula. I just want to echo the concerns on the part of the Personnel Committee, just making sure that we are evaluating, and JAG-K leadership is evaluating the salaries of those individuals so that they are commensurate with, and I know this has always been a struggle, commensurate with our competition, which are the school systems, and making sure that we have good folks and are able to retain and attract good folks based on, the benefits as well as our pay. And so that's a very important thing. Thank you all for looking at that. And actually, I'm glad to hear that we're also holding managers accountable, because it sounds like there are several that are on performance plan improvement. And so thank you all very much. And just as you all know, in the next few months, Paula and I are going to get together and we're going to start the process, just to give you all a heads up, start the process on evaluation for our CEO comp. And I know you guys received a survey last year. We'll probably do the same thing this year. And so be on the lookout for some communications about that in the next few months. We want to have all that wrapped up, I believe, by June. So we'll be sending something out and probably within the next month to start that process. So just to get that out there. If there are no other questions or comments, then I'm going to move on. So the Policy and Bylaws Committee is chaired by Mike O'Neill. He was not able to be here today. There was no report for this month. If you have any questions or have any concerns or want to bring anything up for the committee to look at, please contact Mike or Chuck. The next committee report, is Tim on? Awesome. So I want to recognize Tim as our treasurer and chair of the Finance Committee. Tim is going to present the report of the Finance Committee at this time.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
At the Finance Committee's had a chance to meet, I believe it was last week, to go over two items, which shortly here Ruth will go over in detail. But those two items were the current statement of position and operations through January for the actual results, and then looking at the budget that Ruth and Chuck had put together for 24 and looking forward a couple of years. And so one item that I would say, from a board perspective, if any of you have been paying attention to, at least a subsection of the headlines out there as it relates to what's going on in the banking world, what I would say was, proactively, well before any of these headlines had hit, Ruth had managed our cash in a way that through instruments called ICS and CEDARS had managed our cash in a way that was protected by and large via the FDIC's $250,000 insurance limit. And so by basically dispersing the money across sort of multiple banks through, commonly used instruments. And so the company that you're on the board of, by and large, our cash is protected via those mechanisms. And again, something Ruth had done, sort of well before this. So this wasn't a reactive step, but the Finance Committee did look at a report of where that cash was and was comfortable with what it showed, that our position was insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. So that's on the statement of operations. As it relates to the budget, the Finance Committee had a chance to review that. Ruth will go through that in detail. We had asked for a couple of tweaks to the process kind of going forward, given that 90% of our expenses are benefits and our payroll and comp, that there's a review by the comp committee, prior to, and Chuck and Ruth accomplished that. And so, with all those things said, I believe the Finance Committee's view was that this was a budget that we supported. So with that, I think we'll probably have to come back for a motion, but with that, Ruth, I'll turn it over to you to deal with those two items in whatever order you choose. And Ruth, I'd say as you're turning on your microphone, Ruth did an excellent job in answering every question we had and more, and anticipating questions and building out a budget that makes sense and puts us in a strong financial, or a good financial position. So thanks, Ruth.
Okay, is this working okay? Okay. Your budget, start with the budget. It's under tab 6 in your notebooks. And I'll just kind of go through some of the highlights. Please stop me if you have any questions as we're going through. The multi-year budget proposal is for FY 24 through 27. It aligns with JAG-K strategic plan and has expansion in each fiscal year to ultimately provide services in 53 counties to approximately 8,500 students by FY 27. The FY 24 budget has commitments for 5 new traditional programs, 3 in Manhattan, 1 in Lakin, and 1 in Fort Scott, and the removal of 1 program in the Wichita USD. It also includes 2 new non-traditional programs for the Kansas Juvenile Correctional Facility in Lawrence. FY 25 includes 5 new programs. FY 26 includes 19 new programs. FY 27 includes 19 new programs, so that by FY 27, JAG-K will have 150 traditional programs throughout the state, in addition to 8 transition services and justice-involved youth programs. As you recall, there are programs that expanded in FY23 by using their ESSER funds. They will continue into FY24 as those were 2-year programs. We plan to fund the compensation and benefits for all other traditional programs and 4 transition programs with TANF funds. And then we will use state general funds for student activities and events, as well as administrative positions and operating expenses. We will continue to have 1 transitions program that is funded by JCAB. Our school district affiliate fees for FY24 are going to be $11,220, and that represents approximately 15% of the program expenditures. For FY25, at the point that the ESSER funds are no longer available, we will convert those programs previously funded by the ESSER to the state general fund as part of our $3.5 million allocation that was included in the governor's budget. Therefore, the state general fund is how we plan to initially sustain those programs going forward. And also our expansion plans through FY27 will be funded by additional state general funds as well as the addition of funding through the pre-EDS programs. For public support revenue, the FY20 budget includes $517,000 from contributions and grants, and that increases to $556,000 in FY25, $609,000 in fiscal year 26, and $748,000 in fiscal year 27. That's all of the income. Does anybody have any questions about any of the income line items or like further explanation?
I would just clarify one thing, and that our engagement is with Lawrence Gardner High School at the Kansas Juvenile Correctional Complex, and not in Lawrence.
Any other questions on the income? Okay, we'll move over to the expenditures. As Chuck and Paula had alluded to earlier, the compensation and benefits is the largest portion of our budget, and it accounts for 89 to 90% of each year's proposed budget. As you recall, one of the goals of Jobs for America's Graduates Kansas strategic plan was to hire and retain quality employees and to reduce our turnover. As you know, we had a 67% turnover rate last year, and we felt like that was mainly due to the salary levels that we had within our schools. The JAG-K specialists have been the hardest position to recruit for and to retain over the year. And then we're finding most recently that our veteran specialists are now also being recruited by industries outside of education. Last summer, we committed to conducting a complete compensation market analysis for all of our JAG-K positions. Our goal was to bring the career specialist compensation up to the starting teacher salaries of our main competitors, which was the USDs. This budget reflects that. We found that overall, our average compensation for our career specialists lagged behind first year starting teacher salaries by 6% overall, with ranges as high as 20 to 25% in some districts. This budget includes $410,379 in increases for career specialist positions, which will elevate all of our starting salaries to the beginning salary of first-year teachers in our in the school districts. Any of our current staff who are already at market, this budget includes a 2% increase for them. So everybody that was not at market is being brought to the minimum, and everybody that was already at market or above, it includes a 2% salary increase. This budget also includes a 3% of overall payroll for end-of-year bonuses, which is contingent upon meeting performance-based requirements previously established by the Board of Directors. Are there any questions about the compensation that's included in the budget?
So I just had a quick question about the compensation study you all did. So So did they take into account the various different areas in the state where the districts may or may not have had the same level of compensation in the districts?
Yes, when we did the career specialist analysis, we did it based on each school district. So if they were in the Wichita School District, we based that on what the starting teacher salary was for that district. So we did that for all of our programs. On all of the positions that were not career specialists, for regional managers and above, we used 3 different sources. And we basically took the job description of that position and compared it to either SHRM. We also used the Department of Labor Statistics, Bureau of Labor and Statistics. Hope I've got that correct. And then also we used a tool called Mineral, which was supplied to us by our insurance risk brokers. So we used 3 different sources to find a minimum, a midpoint, and a top point for all positions other than career specialists.
Anybody have any other questions?
That wage analysis was supposed to be in the binder, and I just failed to get it in there. If anyone would like to get it, it can be on the board resources page if it's not already there.
Okay, no further questions on the compensation. I'll go to the benefits. This year, we received a renewal quote for our health insurance premiums with a 32% increase. This was mainly due to some significantly large claims that we had this year that are claims that could be carried forward into future years. So we looked at several different options. We looked at self-insurance, we looked at PEOs, we looked at partial self-insurance. We went out for quotes for other companies. As of right now, we are planning to stay with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas, but on a modified basis. It will still be a fully insured plan, but we are going to add on a health reimbursement account to that. We will be raising our deductibles and our out-of-pocket for our employees, and then subsidizing that with the health reimbursement account. So we feel like there will be minimal change for our employees, but it will still allow us to reduce from that 32%. So in this budget, a 28%, 27% increase in health insurance. That's a pretty significant change for us for this year. We saw a small decrease in our dental premiums, and then this is our second year of our 403B contribution. As you recall, in FY23, we had never had any type of 403B in the past. We implemented one last year, and we added a 3% matching. In FY24, we go to 4%, and then in FY25, we go to 5%. And that's where we plan to. In the budget for 26 and 27, it's also at 5%. Because that was one of the main areas, as we talked to staff, that we were lacking, that they were seeing at the school districts because of the capers. All of our other benefits, which includes life, short and long-term disability, those overall increases amount to about 5%, but they're a very small number overall. Any questions about our benefits or what we're planning to do for the FY24? Okay, I'll go on to the operating expenses. The largest category within our operating expenses are our career association supplies. We allow each program, in this budget, we'll be allowing each program $500 for supplies budget. It also includes travel for our student and staff events, and general operating expenses that include our JAG affiliation fee, as well as rent, equipment, training, professional development, and professional services. There are really no major changes to any of these expenditures, but we have allowed for inflation, especially related to travel. That's kind of a brief overview of of the 4-year budget proposal. So if there's any other questions, I'm glad to attempt to answer them.
Are there any questions for Ruth? Or Tim? That's a pretty extensive travel budget. I guess, does this align with the past, or do we see an increase in travel?
There's a small increase, nothing significant, other than we have raised the miles per allowance, but other than that, and we did a small increase to our per diem. We don't actually have a per diem, but our maximum per day, we were at $51. We moved that up to $59. Other than that, everything is pretty much standard. The only thing that could significantly impact that some is that the new program's coming on.
Anybody else have any questions for Ruth or Tim? Tim, did you have anything else?
I think Ruth is going to go through the January operations as well, and it's up to you. You know, if we can make a motion now on the budget to approve that, or wait until Ruth has gone through.
Since we are done with the budget, I think let's go through with a motion for approving the budget, and then you can move to our January financials. I would now entertain a motion to approve the budget as submitted. Alan moved. Do we have a second? Dennis? Thank you. Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. The budget is approved for the next 4 years. Thank you. Thank you, Ruth, for your hard work on that, and Tim, for the Finance Committee reviewing that. I'll turn it over to you, Ruth, for your report.
Okay. I'll go on to the financial statements as of January 31st, and they are also under tab 6. Start out with the assets. Our overall cash balances are higher than the previous year by $1.3 million. This is due to us requiring the ESSER programs to pay up front for their program fees. Based on cash flow needs, I anticipate drawing down approximately $700,000 over the next few months, and would anticipate that unencumbered cash at June 30th will be approximately $2 million from all sources. You'll also notice that the total accounts receivable is at $400,225, which is due to outstanding miscellaneous grant receivables of $54,000 and the TANF grant of $345,000. Inventory of computers designated for student use, it's at $24,000, bringing our total assets to $4,002,264. Under the liabilities section, the accounts, the accounts payable accruals are at $17,396, and payroll accruals are at $223,000. Unearned revenue is $74,000, which is due to a USD that wanted to pay up front for 2 years of their ESSER programs. So we have $74,000 on hand for the FY24 year, combining for a total liabilities of $314,890. Our net assets are split between restricted funds at $103,964 and unrestricted at $3.5 million, bringing total liabilities and net assets for year to date at $4,002,264. If you move on to the second page, we'll look at the profit and loss statement. And I will be referring to column 2, or excuse me, on page 2, column 2, which is the current year to date. We'll start with the grants. Grants from local activities are at $98,780. Federal grants are at $2.6 million, which is slightly lower than last year, and that is mainly due to timing of payments made for our student activities and payroll. Our state grant revenue sitting at $702,716, and that is from the State General Fund as well as KDOC funds. The total corporate and individual contributions are at $28,238, and special events revenue is at $21,913, which is from the soiree. The program and affiliate fee revenue from school districts so far is at $2.2 million and on target for the budget. Program support and other income is at $43,000. That includes interest of just short of $12,000, contract services from $5,365, which was for some work that we did for JAG for the Oklahoma affiliate, and then also scholarships of $25,000 where we were used as a pass-through. That brings the total operating revenue year to date at $5.8 million. On our operating expenses, the comp and benefits are at $3.7 million year to date, which is below budget by $414,000. Those unspent dollars is comprised of $272,000 from salary and $142,000 from benefits. For the month of January, we were running about a $67,000 below budget due to open positions, which represent approximately 11 to 14 positions that have happened over time that are not filled or have had turnover. We are attempting to reallocate as much of that unspent comp and benefits funds as possible to bolster our student events and activities for the year. A lot of that $414,000 is unspent is from the TANF grant, which is a grant that we use it or lose it. So we're trying to reallocate that to use it for other activities. Program services expense year to date is $436,000, which is below budget by $85,000. Support services expenses at $155,000 and below budget by $63,000. And much of that is due to strategic advancement expenses that have not been utilized yet. I think some on marketing that they just have not spent it so far this year. Total operating expenses are at $4.3 million, and the revenue over expense year to date is at $1,436,883. So that concludes my report, unless anybody has any questions about the financial statements for January.
Does anyone have any questions for Ruth? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the January financials. Can I get a second? Jamie seconded. Any further discussions, questions? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the January financials, say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none, the financials are approved as written. Thank you, Ruth. You always do an excellent job. Tim, did you have anything else for the board?
No, I think that would conclude the finance committee. And again, Ruth. Thank you for the detail and work that you did.
Excellent, thank you. We have one item under unfinished business, and that is the fiscal year 2024-2027 strategic plan. I'm going to ask Chuck to report out the work that was done after the last board meeting. We took it back to various different committees, we discussed, he sent out a follow-up email with some changes as per the recommended committee work. So I'm going to turn that over to Chuck to talk about that a little bit.
Great, thank you. The board did a great job in their committees going over the strategic plan, the strategic plan, including the mission statement and a lot of important goals. The first page behind tab 7 shows the input from the various committees on those two aforementioned items. What you see on the strategic plan before you is kind of the combination of the input that was gathered from the committees. There was no, everyone agreed on the wildly important goal. So there were no other suggestions. So that's unanimous, I think, from the board on the wildly important goal, which is every JAG accredited program will meet or exceed graduation and positive outcome goals. There was a lot of great input on the mission statement, and I think based on what happened during the committees, the draft that's before you is a very fair representation of what the board wanted the mission statement to be. But I would certainly open that up to you again here. We did send this out. There were no comments, no suggestions for change.
And just to give a little bit of background for those who were not able to attend the last meeting, so Chuck, the concern of the previous or the current mission statement was using the term at-risk students and how that would affect students that were wanting to enter the program or being able to explain that to sponsors and donors outside that, what did that mean? And so we took a look at that, and Chuck had proposed after board feedback, and then we took it back to various different committees, talked about it, and then the highlighted portions were some of the additional suggestions.
Right, and so the main point was taking out labeling a student as at risk, but the phrase at risk is important to funders. And so I think the way it's currently written in the mission statement, it takes away the label, but it explains our mission very well in trying to avoid this. And you can read it obviously, but it says JAG-K will prepare students for successful futures. We will partner with students to help them identify a career path compatible to their interests and skills, overcome the various challenges they face that put them at risk of not attaining educational and career success. So we're trying to avoid a negative outcome. We're not labeling students. And so this seemed to be a pretty good way of meeting both concerns. So if you would like me to proceed, the changes are highlighted in your packet. This is the work of the Finance Committee. You see it there. They attach some specific dollar amounts rather than percentages. We have some question about the amount of unencumbered cash available. The reason we had that date of December 31st, 2026 was because there will be a change in administration. Governor Kelly is term limited, so there will be a new governor coming in January 2027. The governor can always do something different with the TANF grant. We just wanted to have some time with emergency expenses to be able to react to that, hopefully very low possibility of something happening with the TANF grant. Are there any questions about the changes? Okay, on the next page, the committee's just made a few changes in numbers under strengthened brand recognition value. Under the objectives to achieve the goal, that number was changed. Basically, the goal is to have 53 counties with a JAG-K program, which we have the counties in Kansas. So new counties will get us to that. 4.3 was just to have a date in there to give us a target. 4.4, these are things that we had discussed before. I think there was maybe a change in wording on that one. Number 2 was highlighted. Those were the only changes from the document presented to you at the previous board meeting. We, as a staff, feel very good about the work that has been done by the board, and we look forward to being able to work from this document.
Thank you for all the discussion in the various different committees following our last meeting. Do we have any additional questions for Chuck on this, and the work that their team did, and he did, to add some additional items? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the strategic plan as presented with the various different highlighted recommended changes. Jamie moves. Do I have a second? Mike, very good, thank you. Is there any further discussion? Additional concerns? Are we good with this for the next 3 years? Excellent. Okay. Hearing no more discussion, do we have all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing none, the strategic plan is approved as proposed and amended. Thank you, Chuck, for your hard work, and staff, as well as the board and their thoughtful comments to the process. I do not believe there is any further business, unfinished business. Is there any new business to come before the board today? Hearing none. If not, I think that might have been a record meeting. I mean, an hour and 4 minutes. You do a great job of just answering everybody's questions with all the work that you do, so we don't have a ton of discussion. But if there's no other business to come before the board, our next board meeting is June 20th, 2022 on a Tuesday. I do believe we will probably, is it going to be in person and virtual options as well for those not attending in person. Thank you to everyone who attended by Zoom that could not attend in person, and for those of you able to attend in person. Hearing no further business to come before the board, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. Unless you want to stay here all afternoon. Mike? I get a second. Okay, very excellent. Any further discussion, questions? All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you again for those attending virtually, and thank you also for attending in